Socio guy here, and this is lesson number 6, I think, in my research methods series for O-levels. And we are going to be taking a look at observational studies. So what I'm trying to do with this series on research methods is, in all these short videos, kind of touch upon the main research methods that are most frequently tested upon and the most important research methods that you must know. I mean, there are a couple of things in the middle, such as case studies, longitudinal studies, and experiments that, while are part of your course material, aren't all that important because you will mostly be tested on the majority of this stuff. So why don't we dive right in and start with observation. So as the name suggests, observation is all about studying people in their natural setting, how they go about things in their daily life. And observation is a key tool in sociological research because, like I said, it allows you to study people in that natural environment. And if you want a high degree of ecological validity, which is that the study you do mimics or is close to real life, observation is the way to go. And not just that, you are actually studying people from their own point of view, how they would behave in that natural setting. So we have 3 different kinds of observation studies, and these 3 different kinds of observational studies are divided in 2 different categories. So category 1 is on this side of the board, as you can see. That is covert and overt observation. This falls under the category of participant observation because you, as the researcher, are actively involved in studying the people and gaining information or finding information from them. While our second category is non-participant observation, and as the name suggests, you, the researcher, do not participate in this observation. You're simply there. You don't let anyone know about your true intentions. You don't tell them anything. You could just go out into a supermarket and do a sociological study with a pen and a paper and just take down information. So the first thing that we will look at is covert observational studies. Now, as the name suggests, covert is like going undercover. You're like James Bond in this situation, right? You try to gain access to a group by gaining their trust. This could be a difficult to enter group. It could be a very selective group on who they choose. So you might have to conceal your identity. Not might, well, you have to conceal your identity from these individuals. You don't make your intentions known. You don't tell them that you're going to study them for a sociological study or that you're a researcher or a journalist, whatever, because that would in turn impact the validity of your results. And the key in observation is to have high validity. Now, this is very commonly used when people are researching criminal gangs or deviant behavior. For example, maybe someone wants to study about a particular mob in a town and they want to know the cultural processes that go on within the mob as to how people are initiated in it, what kind of backgrounds the members come from. So the best way to study that is to gain access. And it's not easy gaining access to like a gang, is it, right? You can't just go tell the gang members that, hey, what's up, man? I'm going to put your name in a sociological journal or in an academic journal, and please let me be part of your gang, because, again, that leads to issues. Maybe they might think that you're from the government or you're part of the police. You might make their identities known, and that causes a whole other mess, right? So using this method, you can gain access to groups that otherwise don't let people in. But the thing is, sometimes with covert observation, you have to fully assimilate. And the issue that can happen with full assimilation into a gang is what is termed as going native. Now, going native basically means that the researcher becomes part of the gang itself. And over time, they think that, well, not think, they become a full-fledged member and they carry out activities thinking that, okay, now this is my identity. And in the long run, that impacts the validity of the experiment and kind of makes whatever you were studying moot. Now, you can go on Google and take a look at Leon Festinger's study, which was known as When Prophecy Fails. So over here, Leon Festinger and his colleagues, they basically gained entrance to a cult, a religious cult, and they wanted to know the social processes that went into running this cult, as to what got people to join them, how they were selling the cult to people, what was the internal workings, what was the organizational structure of that cult. So all of those sociological facets is what they were interested in studying. Now, coming over to our middle column, this is overt participation. Overt participation studies basically, as compared to covert, you, the researcher, the sociologist, you make your intentions known. You basically tell the participants or the subjects that, yes, my name is so-and-so, such as like me, I could go and tell people that my name is Faizan Himani and I want to do a study on your particular school, and I want to see the social environment in the school, what kind of student groupings you have, because we know in every school you have the cool kids, you have the jocks, and you have what people call the nerds. So I want to study all these social processes as to what causes certain people to be grouped into these categories and why these categories come about. So I could go in playing the role of a teacher, observe the students, talk to them, maybe take part in a couple of their activities and see how things play out. And along the way, I'll be writing down information and compiling my data. And a key component of overt participation here is that you need to gain consent. Since you do make your intentions known to people, you have to tell them that you're studying them. While compared to covert participation, it's hidden. You don't give your consent because that would make your study meaningless. Over here, you need to gain the consent, but you must keep this in mind that with overt participation, there is something called the Hawthorne effect. Now, if you're observing people in their natural setting, and this is just the nature of life, that when you observe someone, they kind of get what is known as performance anxiety and their behavior changes. They might feel shy, they might change their pattern of behavior, so you have to keep all of that in mind. Now, again, just go on Google and put this guy's name in, Mears 2011. He did an ethnographic study of the world of a fashion model, and he basically took a look at their day-to-day practices. He went to photo shoots with them, went out with groups of their friends, and kind of just studied how fashion model lives their life. Our final type of observational study is non-participant. And over here, as you can see, and as the name suggests, the researcher doesn't take part. He doesn't take part in any of the activities of the group. He simply stands there as a passive observer. Like I said at the start of this video, I could just walk into a supermarket. I could just go to Agaz and take a pen and a paper and just observe the buying habits of people and try to discern, for example, what kind of products are most popular with which socioeconomic class. And I'm going to make those assumptions based on my interpretation of the data. Now, this can reduce the Hawthorne effect because, again, you're not making your identity known to anyone. This is just like observing strangers in an open setting. So, yeah, you'll be seeing people in their natural setting. For example, sticking to the supermarket example, you will just be seeing people buy and go about their regular grocery store habits. And the trouble here is that you can't stop people and ask them why. Why did you buy that head of lettuce? Or why did you buy this specific brand of masalas or whatnot? Because then that could lead to problems of validity, and this in turn can lead to, the fact that you can't do this can lead to what is known as interpretation bias. The researcher themselves will try to interpret the data to fit their model. So that about covers a brief lesson on observation. If you want to know some strengths and weaknesses, I suggest you open up Ken Brown, read the chapter, and figure that stuff out on your own as well. I mean, I can't give away everything to you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I will see you next week for hopefully a topic or a cover of sampling. Take care.